Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 662 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Mike Paull. And if you want to hear our conversation about practicing in the UK and running a chiropractic hospital, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's the 662nd interview of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We've been doing this thing for 7 years. I'm really proud of this production and what we do here, protecting the sacred trust for chiropractors. And today I have Mike Paull coming on with me from Wigan over in the UK. And he just schooled me up on the knowledge of the rugby that's local and the football, which is local, and gave me some distinctions and some understanding of his sports teams back home, which I find fascinating. But before we jump into letting Dr. Mike talk all about the things he's done over his 21 career years and as a career chiropractor, I'm really excited to have him on for the show. I was over there speaking at the United Chiropractic Association a few months back. Mike was in attendance to the talk that I gave. And it's been really, really amazing seeing the ripple effect that can happen when somebody believes so much in one thing that they go and Johnny Appleseed it across the world. So I just want to say thank you to the UCA docs for having me over there as one of the presenters. And before we get into Mike's interview today, I want to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. As we all know, globally, it's a problem. So we have to speak loud and proud about what we believe in for chiropractic and stand in the gap and tell the truth. So freedom of speech is so important. We were talking about his little girl that had an injury and how philosophy was a part of her story and the power that made the body heals the body. But we believe in medical freedom. We believe in family health freedom, and these things coincide with each other. So if you need some advice on your family's health or medical freedom, reach out to your local chiropractor. They'll help sort you out. We do protect BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. We believe it's very important. If you don't know what that is, go to our website and check out our show notes. You'll learn more about chiropractic than you ever did previously. And it stinks that I have to say this, but it's true. I have to say it. They're taking this out of the schools. So if you're listening to this show, please share it. So the past decade of chiropractors that might not have gotten philosophy, even Dr. Mike was saying 26 years ago, he didn't get great philosophy. So we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence. We believe in universal intelligence. We believe in educated intelligence over here. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that, Dr. Mike Paull, your episode 662. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, there's almost no stone unturned when I do that introduction, because I believe that much conviction and making sure that we actually get that segment of information to people. You were talking earlier about how we educate people about chiropractic is we need to give it to them in 5-second segments. Well, sometimes you got to give it to them in 3-minute segments too.
I used to go for 50 minutes and 60 minutes, so 3 minutes is good.
Well, it took a long time to get that long thing encapsulated into a 2-minute deal with a little bit more in there. So really excited to have you on today. Your story, 21 years of chiropractor. Let's tell people a little bit about your origin story and how you got into this beautiful profession.
Well, I 26 years ago, I'd gone to university, and I was doing, in the UK, we have what you call a foundation year. And a foundation year, you'll go along and do this year if you've not quite got the right prerequisites to do a certain degree. I was at Cardiff University. I was slated to study genetics, and I was doing this foundation year, and I realized that if I'd have applied differently, I might have been eligible for a place on a medical program. So I went to see the dean of the medical school and said, look, I'm getting great grades, which I was. Do you think you could give me a place in the medical program? It just made perfect sense to me. And they basically said, look, sorry, but unless you wanted to do that since you could talk, there's not too much chance that you'll get in, even with the great grades you've got. My mum and my brother, he's in chiropractic too. He's a professor, funnily enough. They said, well, if you can't get into medical school, why don't you look at chiropractic school? And my mum had gone to chiropractors for some time. It helped her quite a lot at certain points in her life. So I went across to this newly formed chiropractic school that was in South Wales, and it was called the WEOC back then. I think it's changed names now. And spoke to an amazing lady called Professor King, and she said, look, we like you, we like your grades. If you keep getting good grades, you can come and transfer here in September. So that I did. I studied ridiculous hours. I studied maybe 70, 80 hours a week for the whole 4 years of the degree program. And I was scared of failing, essentially. So I just studied. And I filled my head up very much with medical knowledge, with pathology, with how everything like that operates. Without wishing to sound derogatory, there was zero chiropractic philosophy during my undergraduate times. But I always remember in the library finding a book that talked about the exploits of B.J. Palmer, and I thought, this sounds good. And I remember reading references of people getting out of wheelchairs, and I just remember thinking, this is brilliant. When do we learn how this happens? And I asked about things like that, and I was met with rolled eyes and shrugged eyebrows, that kind of thing. So I realized when I was at university that, you're there to pass the exams. And to be fair to the university that trained us, they've got quite a lot of pressure to present the degree in a certain way because of the political scene across Europe. So long story short, I graduated and I didn't really know what a chiropractor was. I remember thinking, if you've got very run-of-the-mill back pain, we can probably help it. That was all I knew. And I always remember I worked with a Palmer graduate in my first job, and I've been in the same practice ever since practically. And we had a little boy come in, and he couldn't walk in a straight line, couldn't touch his toes without falling over. And this particular chiropractor, Dean, said, oh, Mike, come and watch this. He adjusted this kid's atlas. The whole thing took about a minute, and straight away, this little boy walked about 80, 90% better. He had a few more adjustments, and he's playing rugby. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? How did that happen? And as time went on, I guess I really became a chiropractor at the hands of the people who've come to see me, because there's many people that stand out. But I will always remember we have a little girl who came to us. She was about 3 when she joined us. We nicknamed her Jenny to keep her anonymous, and she'd been adopted by a lady that we'd known for years. And this little girl would just sit in our waiting room in the corner, and she didn't want to move. You can imagine a 3-year-old child that just sits there, as compared to a 3-year-old kid that bounces off the walls when they come into your practice. And she couldn't really speak either. She would, and I mean this really nicely, she would just mumble. That was all she could manage. So Mum said, do you think this chiropractic thing could help her? And I said, well, I think it'd be good to try. I didn't know what we could do. And we started adjusting her. And she came in over the weeks and months. And I always remember we had an open plan adjusting room on the second floor of our building with her. It was this mock 18th century French chandelier. It cost like $80, but it looked the part. And one day I'm adjusting people, and I'm quite a quiet person. There's maybe 8 people in the room, and all I heard was some little feet come flying up the stairs. And this little girl runs in the room. This is a little girl who didn't want to move a few weeks previously. Pulls out, she's dressed as Darth Vader, like George Lucas studio quality, head to toe. Pulls out a plastic lightsaber, lit it up, challenged me to a duel. So I pulled out a walking stick. I'm so proud. We've got a collection that people have left behind. And I had a mock duel with her. I'd like to say I jumped on the adjusting tables like Luke Skywalker, but I didn't. I wish I had. And we ended up clobbering this chandelier, well, I did. And it's swinging like a pendulum. And her mum walks in the room and goes, "Jenny!" And I had to say, I thought, professional integrity. Say, that was me. So she started telling me off instead. But the same little girl, a few weeks later, comes in dressed up as a pirate, pulls out a plastic sword and said, "Aha, Mike, I'm going to kill you." So mum told her off again, but she saw the funny side, because what I didn't tell you was she was under a very well-respected children's medical hospital. And in their opinion, they'd said, look, when this little girl grows older, the speech she does have is going to regress to being like a baby's. She's going to need a wheelchair, and she's going to be a vegetable. I've not seen her for a good year or two, but last time she came in, she's probably as tall as me. She speaks beautifully, and she was showing me what she's been learning at martial arts lessons. And I just thought, how did that happen? So my journey then began when I started reading green books. I started listening to people like Bill Bahan, Bahan, Jim Sigafus, Arnaud Bernier, who I love dearly. And I started listening to all these people, and the resounding message was, well, when you work with a person's spine and nervous system, anything's possible, because every last bit of that person, down to the last cell, down to the last organelle in every cell, is self-healing by design. And it's self-healing whether you want it to be or not. And you free a person's nerves up, and it's just like we say to children, if they look a bit perhaps nervous watching their parents get adjusted, we go, "You know your dad?" And they'll go, "Yeah, well, he's got a lot of magic in him. We're going to do this thing, and we're going to help him use his magic." And the kids go, "Yeah, cool, Mike. That sounds great." So that's the long story short.
So there's so many great things you share with us, and stories. They really matter, because that's really how people learn. You know, from ancient times, that's how messages were passed down. People actually wrote books, and then they read them, or they made etchings on walls, and that's how they translated, knowledge. Or they would tell each other like where to go to find food. Or now people are in 2024, they're looking for something different, because we've seen what's happened over the past 21 years of your career. Specifically, the past 4 have been even more challenging. So it's important to have these open conversations and talk about philosophy. And it's even more important when that chiropractor like yourself understands a philosophy and you can deliver the goods. So I guess my next segue is, how over the past 21 years have you grown your practice, and what are maybe some things you would share with younger chiropractors on what they can do to have the life of their dreams and practice for their 21 years?
I would say that some of it's been blind luck. I genuinely would say that there are times when I've been sent that many patients that it's luck. Or I heard somebody say once that God will send you all the patients that he or she believes you can handle, but he or she's watching what you do with them when they get there. And there's been times where I thought, well, where are these people coming from? And there's that. There is, I think one of the biggest things is, this is mine anyway, is you constantly you change as you practice, and you change as a person, I would expect, but you constantly keep something in your heart and in your mind that's the thing that keeps you in practice. And for me, with chiropractic care, I get it. You free up a person's nervous system, and that can have implications for pain. It can have implications for symptoms, diseases. a person's potential, the soul. I'm going to just say it. I think that's the case too. But for some reason, I've always been in love with the idea of people healing. Like, again, you read the green books from back in the days, and it was normal for people to go to the Palmer College in their 20s, severely disabled, blind. And that many people did that well when they'd been abandoned by everybody else, that those patients became chiropractors. And it just has a real magical feeling for me when I read about that, and they're thinking about people getting out of wheelchairs, or even in day-to-day practice, because we have had that happen. Not a lot, we've had it happen, but people not need a walking stick anymore, or people go, oh, I'm out of pain now, I can go back to work. And I absolutely love the idea of people healing to whatever level is right for them. So it's probably going to be different for other people, but that's kind of occurred to me very naturally over time. And no matter how moody I am, or if I've not had my coffee, or I'm late or whatever, it's something that it really gets to me. So in the long term, I would encourage people to look at all their aspects of the practice and try and look for the thing that really lights them up, that gives them that sense of joy, that sense of magic, that sense of beauty, and then try and link that to what you're doing as much as you can. Beyond that, there's a lot of good marketing help out there. We've had a lot of help from Ryan Ryder. And what Ryan's team have done is they've run a lot of good quality Facebook ads for us. Because I've made videos on Facebook for a long, long time, lives. They're not as popular now, I must admit, but I've made them for a long time. The adverts kind of cross-pollinated very well with the videos that we've done. So those have probably been the biggest things.
Well, listening to it, there's a lot that I can draw from that message, and the practice is always evolving. And the more that the chiropractor has the philosophy, the practice evolves the way it's supposed to. And I do love that you said that God will send you the amount of people that you can take care of.
Yeah,
and who knows who those people will be, and who knows how that adjustment that you deliver will change the future of somebody. You talked about getting people out of pain. You talked about getting people off their walking sticks. And the part where most people don't realize is that, like, the body's supposed to function the way it does naturally without any interference. But because people's bodies do get contorted and injured and things happen to them, the body doesn't function the way it's supposed to all the time. So they do need a chiropractor. And I think it's brilliant. And I do think that the marketing thing, when you're doing organic reach and you're just doing the work and you're talking to people and you're doing those small videos, and then you actually get a campaign through a proper ad set going out, those things do live in the same ecosystem together and they support each other. So anybody out there that's watching or listening to this and you're like, I'm just going to run Facebook ads, like, they're only so productive unless you're more active organically. And that's a part where most people don't understand either is, yeah, you can get success, but if you have a good approach to connecting with your audience, it's going to work better.
Sounds good to me.
And you said that, you've been, I read your bio and it says that you've done a lot with fitness and with taking care of your body and athletics. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I had. About 12 years ago now, I really, really got into doing triathlons. And I was at a different stage in my life back then. I didn't have a family, so it was easy to be find 3 hours a day to go and train and to go and exercise. But it really made me think in practice, we've got to have, I think, at least a minimum approach to our own health and fitness long term. And I've been in better shape than I am now. I'm just going to be honest. I've been in much better shape, but always I've done some form of exercise every day, whether it's as little as a 10-minute walk or an hour walk and a trip to the gym and another walk. And I think that's really big, because when I go into practice and I'm aiming to talk to people in small amounts about just the power that they've walked in within their own bodies, never mind the adjustment and the chiropractic. I always find that if I've been out and had a good walk that morning and eaten a good breakfast, I've got a different tone myself. I've got a different vibration myself, and it transfers to people. So, yeah, I'd love to say I'm still doing triathlons, but I had a great year. It was when we had the London Olympics. I had a great year, but yeah.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. No, I think it's just important to discuss those things because obviously you want longevity for yourself in practice also.
Yes.
And if we don't take care of ourselves, we do, time does get the best of us. And I think it's important for us to just be mindful of how we take care of ourselves. So we can, I talk to chiropractors all the time and I'm like, you guys are full-time athletes. Like, the amount of like physical activity that a chiropractor does on a daily basis between adjusting 10 people to 100 people, like that's a hands-on profession.
Very much so, isn't it? Yeah.
Now let's get a bit more focused on how you interact with your local community. Have you found that to be something that was important to grow your practice, or was that something that, people would suggest and you're like, I'm just going to run the practice from inside out?
Let me think. What's the best way to answer that? Well, when it comes to interacting with people, we've worked on 2 different models, and one was for quite a long time. A person would come in, have a consultation, and then between the consultation and the report of findings and the first adjustment, there'd be a small talk that was 20, 30 minutes of a presentation. And it worked well for some people. Some people, it aggravated them that we weren't getting straight to the adjustment. And sometimes I felt some of those folks were being unreasonable. Some of them would be, it was just their position. But I found that it evolved in the sense of, it could be a post-COVID thing again, but there were a lot of people felt extremely anxious about being in a room where there might only be 4 of us or 6 of us or 8 of us, but a lot of people felt really anxious about being in a room with a group of people. I don't know if it reminded them of being at school. I'm a very easygoing guy. I don't know what it was. So organically, I would say April this year, we made our consultations a little bit longer, and essentially the half an hour. And the biggest thing that we look at is I try to keep quiet and just try to listen to that person and try and connect with them. And I don't always find that easy. When I'm busy, that's a struggle, and there's a waiting room filling up. But that's the main thing. And then palpate people, and then use, a straightforward diagram or a plastic spine, and simply try to explain to people that we've just felt your spine, we've just felt all the nerves indirectly that live inside it, for those of you who like being technically accurate. And what we found is, look, actually if this is the case, quite a lot of your spine and the nerves inside are moving beautifully. But there are areas that have needed or learned to get stuck. And I'll say to people, what that's going to do is mean that all these messages that you're making up here, and I've got a diagram to help with this, are not going to get through to the rest of you as well. If it's appropriate, I'll link that to a person's symptoms and say, some of that back and neck pain might be your body trying to tell you about that. I'll show them that, and then I'll just walk them through it and say, so if we were to flip that and work on releasing those areas that are stuck within your nervous system, do you think that might be good for you? If it's a fairly outgoing person, if it's not, Some people meeting a doctor, they can become quite shy. I've found, even though, again, I'm very laid back. So I might just say, well, if we release those areas, I'm thinking those messages that are up in your brain are going to get through to the rest of your body better. And what we've noticed around here, going back to what you said, Jim, about stories, is I would say 8, 9 out of 10 people who come in here, as long as I've seen this with your particular situation, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Jones, they do really, really well. And I tend to leave it at that. And then I look at how people's bodies heal a little bit at the report of findings. But I make a real effort to say to people, what I know I can do is free up your nervous system. And I know that's going to be good for you. We're then going to see what your body does with that. It's very often the symptomatic improvement you're looking for, but it might not be. And other things are always going to happen along the way. The rest of your body is going to change as well. So when it comes to the progress you're going to make, you're an open book. But again, because that's quite new for a lot of people, I used to purely explain that at one time, but it left a lot of people lost saying, well, I've got neck pain, Mike. Why are you talking about the nerves that go to the rest of my body? Not everybody. Some people got it. So again, like you said with stories, I'll always try to relate it to a story of somebody we've helped, because it's just a great way to communicate, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just going to add a little addition to that, because a lot of people that know my story, once again, will anchor to that. I've created over 11,000 new chiropractic patients. So when I'm in that communication phase with them, I say, promise me one thing. And they say, okay. And I say, just show up so we can help you. And that's the big buy-in for me, is the empathy, is to let them know, look, you're an ideal candidate for what we do. I know we can help you. And when I say that one simple thing, I just see all of the pressure and noise and stress and tension of that person's life evaporate just for 20 seconds. And they're like, wow, you can help me. And I think that that's the real fundamental part of chiropractic and communication, is it brings people back to this idea that nobody else can do what a chiropractor does. And it's true. There's no one else that's going to check, detect, and correct a vertebral subluxation ever. It's only a chiropractor. So when you build that honest rapport with somebody and you say, by the way, just so I can help you. And good news is we can help you. And when you do that with someone, they start to understand that there's some intricacies within allowing them to be under supervision and care of the chiropractic profession. And that's much different than somebody says, hey, can you take care of this neck pain? And the way that you described it is, you're going to give a proper analysis and a report to somebody and let them know what's going on, how you can help them, what that looks like. But there's a certain level of trust, I think, that is involved too with this profession, and why it's so beautiful and why people get miraculous results, because the chiropractor's conviction with the philosophy and the artistry of the adjustment, that's what makes this profession so beautiful. And I think you explained it quite well with how you connect with the community, and you bring people in and you tell them the story, and then you bring people in and then you repeat that, and you never go off topic and you stick to that message. And I think that that's the most important thing, is people in today's society, as you were saying, post-scamdemic, they just want to be acknowledged. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. And they want somebody that's actually going to care about them more than a few bucks. And I think that if all chiropractors got on that method of communication, their practice would swell with growth, because really people are out there looking for chiropractic. They just don't know it's called chiropractic.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, I like that.
So 20 years from now, we're going to future this method of chiropractic that we're talking about. You've been a part of for 21. Let's just double it. In the next 21 years of your career, what do you see happening with chiropractic, specifically over in the UK?
I think given how the education has gone in the UK, and it's a wonderful medical program that people receive. There's a lot of input goes into it, but no chiropractic principles or philosophy. I think that people who come out and graduate are going to continue to be, they're going to continue to be really only equipped with a mechanical 4, 5, 6 visits. Hopefully it'll fix your back pain if it doesn't refer you to an orthopedic surgeon model. I think it's very much like you've gone in a gourmet restaurant and you've just had a piece of bread, you've not had any of the meal from a patient's perspective. I think that's going to continue. And I think with podcasts like this and the abundance of good material that's there on YouTube generally, if you're looking to, I don't know, call it traditional chiropractic or call it real chiropractic, whatever it is, I almost look at it as you're trying to give people the full menu and go, just so you know when you come in here, this is what's available to you. I hope that more and more chiropractors pick up on the whole message and think, that's brilliant, that's beautiful. I want to at least offer that to people. And I hope that happens more and more. And right now, one of our CAs, he's studying at the McTimoney College in the UK. And before Arnaud Bernier passed away, he did some mentoring with our whole clinic. He did some with me. And I always talk to my colleague, our CA, about having a parallel curriculum. So doing things like watching these kinds of videos, reading green books, reading our history, all of those things. But it's a cheesy parallel. I think potentially we're going down the Star Wars route where it's going to be like The Last Jedi one day. If we're not, I hate to use such a cheesy analogy, but I think there's a real risk of that happening because there's probably less and less people who are thinking full scope chiropractic. But I really, really hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope more people pick up on it.
Well, that's why we perpetuate what we do over here with ChiroHustle.
Yes,
because we do believe that there is a big idea. We believe that there's a sacred trust. I mean, a lot of the foundation of what this profession was built on, we can't forget it. And I think that that's a really important part for all chiropractors to think about. Where do they want this profession to land in 20 years? And what are you willing to do to preserve it and to carry it on to represent what you want? So that's my call to action for all chiropractors that will listen to this is make sure you're passing this on to the next generation of chiropractors, something that you're proud of. And I know it's a tall order, but you talked about a parallel curriculum. Well,
yes.
There's also a parallel responsibility. And it's not just to grow a practice and retire and close down shop. It's the parallel responsibility of a clinician is to grow the practice, but also preserve its identity. And I think that if we're ever going to go anywhere with chiropractic long term, we have to preserve the identity. Otherwise, it's going to be reduced to what most of the academics are doing is turn it into a medical referral system. And hey, if you want to be a medical referral source, then sign up for it. But if you want to be a long-term subluxation-based DC, doctor of chiropractic, then you have to start doing that parallel investigation on what the philosophy is, what chiropractic means to the chiropractors. There's an old saying, Mike, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And my call to action for everybody is, are you going to be the giant that somebody can stand on the shoulders of? And that's really important for people to think about, that it's not just a transactional relationship. It's not just a transactional profession. It's a life-giving, life-changing profession. So protect that sacred trust, guard it well, but also make sure that you're, like you said, you have to have good mentors. You have to have people that you're passing this knowledge on to. And that's the thing, is create those gatherings around the universities, do green book readings, do philosophy nights, do shadows at your offices, allow people to come in and talk about philosophy, get the students involved, teach them adjusting techniques. You know, there's so much that I think that the chiropractic students will benefit from having a community of philosophically rich chiropractors and that know how to take care of people. So, you know, I just really appreciate you being so open about your career today. I didn't get a chance to ask you half the things I was looking forward to discussing with you today. I know you call your clinic a hospital, which I think is just amazing. I think it's really cool to know that you can create a foundation that where people can come into and get taken care of, and they can tell their friends and family about how you take care of them. And that's the way to grow a practice. And I think it's great that you do a little bit more around the edges for the patients. You do extremities and muscle testings, and you really take care of the full body, which I think is really important too. And anybody that's watching this and you get to this far in the episode, just share the show, share this episode, and reach out to Mike if you have any questions about his practice over in Wigan. And if you guys are looking to do an episode with me on Chiro Hustle, shoot me a message, and we'd be happy to have you on. In closing, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to discuss with our audience today, Mike?
There would be, have we got 2 minutes perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd check. Something that's become really, really dear to my heart, but I didn't even get into it, is we've got this beautiful philosophy that amongst its roots is everybody's got an ability to heal. Even if somebody's terminally ill, they've still got an ability to heal. And when you adjust people, you work with that. It's took me a long time to get that. It's took me a long time, and it's still something that I love thinking about every day. But it's right there in front of us. I think the problem is children understand it, but adults, I'm not convinced it really resonates and goes deep with people. So in my own practice, what I've started to do more and more and more, and by the way, we're often adjusting a person within about every 5 minutes. So that's on average. But what I try to do, unless it's essential for the patient, is keep away from small talk about the weather or something like that. But every time a person's talking about their health and where they are, just 5 seconds at a time, I try to make sure that they're getting credit or an awakening. And what I mean by that is if somebody says to me, you know what, Mike, my leg pain's a bit better, I'm walking a bit better, I go, wow, you must be doing something good underneath the surface. And it might not always ring any bells straight away. But the next time people say, yeah, my neck's, a bit better, Mike, I'm sleeping. I'll go, wow, aren't you achieving a lot? And people will often go, no, you're achieving it, Mike. And then I'll say something like, do I have to get that plastic spine out again and show you how it's you that's doing the healing? And people laugh along with it. But bit by bit by bit, I do it. Another example is people will go, you know what, Mike, my neck's a lot better. And I'll go, do you know how much of the credit I'm taking? And they'll go, well, all of it. I'll go, no, none. You're having all of the credit. Well, let me tell your wife. And I have fun with it. But the point I'm making is that it almost takes politely confronting people with a very real truth. And here's why. I think it's really sad that we know our skin heals and we know our bones do, but we forgot that our organs do as well. And I just think it's essential to remind people of the fact that they're self-healing, no matter what, it's always there on the job with them. And that we work with that. But I always think, well, if somebody down the line, and this is happening in my practice right now, somebody down the line is diagnosed with cancer, which is something I've dealt with this year, thanks to my wife as well. If they're dealt a terminal diagnosis, which I wasn't, but they are, I'm hoping that there are people who go, you know what, there was a crazy chiropractor and he said to me, even if you're absolutely going down the chute and you've got a terminal diagnosis, your body still has an ability to heal. Oh, maybe I can get better. Maybe there's some hope. I'm hoping they sit up in the beds and think, I'm sure he said something about the body being self-healing. But I think that's why we've got to tell people, because disease levels are going through the roof, as we all know. And there are people sat there thinking, if this medication, if this surgery doesn't work, what is there for me? But when people wake up to that truth within themselves that, well, hang on, I'm armed to the teeth with ability to heal. I'm steeped in it. I'm absolutely filled with it from head to toe. I'm hoping that they see that there could be some light.
Well, Dr. Mike, let's keep on creating those Jedis out there, and let's protect this profession and guard it. And let's keep on telling this truth that the body heals itself. The power that made the body heals the body. It needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. When you clear the interference, the body self-heals and self-regulates. And that's an amazing thing. And that's why chiropractic has been powerful for 127 years. And there's no better thing to do than just to take care of more people. And I think that that's why I fell in love with this profession, because it does something that nothing else can do. And there's so much more to give. And with your time, I just really appreciate you jumping on with me and being episode 662 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Thank you for the closing remarks there. And if you guys have not checked us out yet, go to ChiroHustle.com. We have 7 years of content that we've been curating, and there's so many stories out there that you can learn more about this profession. And like I'll close out by just saying one last thing: just share the show. And you guys are just one story away, so keep hustling, keep doing a great job out there. And Dr. Mike, have a good night over there in Wigan.
Thank you.
All right, bye for now. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.